creating content about reptiles is fun and sometimes educational, but also it can be deadly. So today, let's talk about a few of your favorite content creators in the reptile niche that have almost died making content for you. My name's Adam, this is Diamond, you're watching Wickens Wicked Reptiles. Stick around. Now, of course, of all the content creation that there is around reptiles, what I do is pretty darn safe. I don't mess with things that are likely to kill you. Sure, I deal with Burmese pythons and reticulated pythons, which, have the slightest chance of maybe hurting you badly if they try to constrict you, but that is so, I can't think of an instance where that's ever really happened. I can't think of instances where venomous animals or bigger animals that are very powerful have almost killed content creators and they've kind of, gone over it and told the story. So I am not making this video to disparage anybody. I respect these content creators I'm about to talk about. I'm just going to tell you what happened to them and how you can make sure it never happens to you. So let's start off with one that you're probably thinking of right away. Tyler Nolan. Now, I got nothing but love for Tyler. He's a great dude. I've met him in person before. Great guy. Amazing tattoo artist. Amazing at handling reptiles and showing them off. Great presentation style. He's the man. He's the man that has one less finger because he got bit by a king cobra. So let's kind of go over that and how that could maybe not happen to you. Honestly, he was in the right place at the right time. If there is a right place or right time when you get bit by something that is so unbelievably venomous. And it's not that king cobras have the most potent venom, but they dump venom into you. And of course, it is a neurotoxin. So if you get bit by things that are elapids, a lot of elapids, like cobras, have a neurotoxin that is going to... It's going to be a bad day. And there is a story, just really quickly, I was in Bali last year, almost a year ago to the day, and there was a very experienced snake handler. And you can see footage here of Dave Kaufman and I handling this snake, or not handling, but being close to the snake with this guy's help. This gentleman's brother got bit by a king cobra almost in the exact same spot, and they just held his hand as he died in the forest because they realized nothing was going to be able to save him. So these are very serious bites. When Tyler got bit, he knew, oh no, I need to get to a hospital, otherwise, lights out, that's it. So you can watch his own video. I think it's 20 or 27 minutes long. Great video, love it. He went to Tom Crutchfield's house, basically. Tom Crutchfield, if you don't know, is, if there's a godfather of reptile keeping, he's one of them for sure. He keeps a lot of venomous stuff. Tyler goes over to Tom's house and starts playing with Naga, I think is the name, which makes sense because of the Latin name for king cobra, and starts to play with his animal. And that's what he's doing. Now, don't get me wrong. I personally would never do this. I would never free handle venomous snakes. It's just not what I do. I don't think I'm experienced enough. And even if I was, I think it's too risky. I'm experienced with big constrictors, and I even follow my own advice, and I have someone else in the room when I handle them. And sure, I get made fun of by the experts or the more experienced keepers for being so risk adverse. But at the end of the day, what's going to be the common theme here is complacency. They're handling this king cobra, which is in shed. If you don't know, when an animal is in shed or when a snake is in shed, there's a film between their old skin and their new skin, including their eyes. So because king cobras are very dependent on their vision, they have very good vision, and of course they're dependent on feeling along their body. So if you touch it, it's going to turn around and inspect it, right? But if it can't see what it is, they might strike first. King cobras are really, really smart. But this is an impaired king cobra at this point because it can see shapes and shadows, but it can't see actual things because its eyes are blued over. So this day that they're handling the snake, like you can see here, free handling the snake, it's a very sensitive, very grumpy snake. This is a day, he said himself in the video, he should not have been handling the snake in this way. In my opinion, Tyler can do whatever he wants, and he's an expert. Grown humans can do whatever they want. But I'm telling you as an audience member to never, ever handle snakes like this. Never free handle venomous snakes, ever. But if you do, there are still certain things you don't do, like handle them when they're in blue, like that. So what I thought was really interesting also, just a sidebar here, is the reason that you didn't see this, you might not even know this happened, or even, I'm sure you know who Tyler Nolan is, but it wasn't covered as a, Florida man does something crazy story because it was on election day in 2016. So I guess good luck as it can possibly be being bit by a cobra. that it wasn't publicized more than it was. So Tyler gets bit on his index finger. They know immediately. Someone puts the snake away. Him and his girlfriend at the time get in a truck and they go to the end of the street and realize there's a cop there with his blues on. So he says to the cop, hey, you need to rush me to the hospital. He gets rushed to the hospital in like 5 minutes. They brought 5 vials of antivenin, which is really important, especially for a king cobra bite. So they administer those. Then they had some airlifted in from North Carolina. All of them way expired, by the way, over 3 years expired, but expired antivenin, and it's called antivenin. It could be antivenom too, but antivenin is correct, by the way, for you commenters. And it's better to have expired antivenin than no antivenin at all. Again, I don't recommend doing what he did. I don't think he can do whatever he wants, and I respect Tyler to no end, but I would not recommend doing that. However, if you make a mistake, if you do something stupid and you get, you pay the consequences for it, at least have a plan in place for if that happens, right? Plan A, don't get bit. Plan B, this is what you do. And he did that. Tom and Tyler and everyone else involved did everything right for the circumstance. So anyway, the aftermath is he was in the hospital for 6 or 8 weeks or something like that, and he's missing part of his finger. So yeah, he does top 4.5 lists. I don't know. Anyway, all the respect in the world to Tyler. That's Tyler's story. Let's move on to another YouTuber who almost died, and we'll keep it on the same track with venomous snakes. Some of us have bad habits, and maybe it's not handling venomous snakes without a hook, but it could be something else. And it doesn't mean that you have to drastically change your life, but why not just take the bad out of the habit? And today we can do that with today's sponsor, Fume. Fume is an innovative, award-winning device that does just that. This is not an electronic. There is no smoke. There is no vapor. This is flavored air. There's a core inside that is made from all natural ingredients. You put it inside and you're breathing flavored air. You notice how there's no vapor, no smoke, nothing come out of my mouth? This doesn't have any harmful chemicals at all. And it's delicious. This one smells like sparkling grapefruit. I love this one. You'd think that it doesn't taste good enough or have enough flavor, but it's perfect. Whoever made this did their research. And what I love too, it has an adjustable airflow dial, which is kind of like a fidget spinner too. So it calms my anxiety when I'm just playing around with it. And also you can have lots of air come through or just a little bit, it's up to you. I love the new flavors. Orange vanilla is sweet and citrusy. Raspberry lemon, I love this one. It's a really great one. And then sparkling grapefruit is probably my favorite. It almost feels carbonated in your mouth. It's hard to describe. I absolutely love it. Stopping is something that we all put off because it's hard, but switching to Fume is easy, it's enjoyable, and it's fun. Thousands of people have already done this, which means that you can be the next success story. I do understand that stopping is something we all put off because it's hard, but switching to Fume is really easy. So join Fume in accelerating humanity's breakup from destructive habits by picking up the Journey Pack today. Head to tryfume.com/Wickens or scan the QR code and use code Wickens to get 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. That's tryfum.com/Wickens and use the code Wickens to save an additional 10% off your order today. The next gentleman, a guy that I actually got to go herping with, very lucky, Chris Sweet. So Chris Sweet runs a really cool channel, very unique. The way he approaches presentation and snakes and the love he has for snakes and respect is, there's really no one like him. I really love his channel. I wish he posted more. That's probably why he's not a bigger channel than he is. But of course, a great guy. I ran into him at a flea market in Thailand randomly last year. Dave knew him personally and he's like, hey, you wanna go herping? And then we did. So there's a video right here, herping with Chris Sweet, if you wanna watch it. Chris Sweet in 2014 on April 4th got bit by a Malayan pit viper. Now, Malayan pit vipers are pit vipers, and most pit vipers do not carry a neurotoxin like elapids do, which means that it's going to be a localized killing tissue type issue. Of course, it can go through your body too and affect your organs and things like that, especially your liver, but that doesn't mean that it's as bad as a cobra bite most of the time. In Thailand, there is a snake farm that there's a video right here. I toured it. Anyway, Chris used to work there, and part of what they do at this snake farm, besides have really cool snakes and lock you in cages with king cobras, which is wild, and I can't believe they allowed me to do that. They also milk snakes in order to make antivenin, which is really important. So antivenin I mean, without it, people are going to die from snake bites, or they're going to have bad injuries. And even for things where he got bit on his finger, right? So basically the story goes, he's milking this snake. It's a much larger Malayan pit viper. They're smaller snakes, so much larger than he was used to, powerful. It kind of turned around on him. It bit him in the finger to the point where it dislocated his finger. It was that powerful. You heard a crunch or a snap or whatever he described it as. And then all of a sudden he realizes, well, I'm in the right place. You know, I'm in a place where they make anti-venom, so they can get me to the hospital quick and the whole thing. So he did the right thing. He didn't tie it off, right? If you get bit by an animal that has a neurotoxin that's going to attack your organs, you want to tie it off and make sure that venom doesn't get to your heart, to your lungs, to your organs, basically. You want to make sure that it kind of stays where it is. If you get bit by something that's going to be necrotic, then you want to not do that. You want it to slowly go through your body so that it's not staying and killing that tissue. You want it to spread. So he did the right thing. He didn't tie it off. He got to the hospital as quickly as he possibly could, and they started to administer him antivenin. The antivenin, which is a common trend here, is expired, but it did the job. It helped for sure. He has a little bit of an issue with his finger. Not issue, but a scar, indentation, but it's not the biggest deal in the world. And he lived, and he didn't have the craziest side effects, and he thinks that maybe it's because he didn't get a full yield. Maybe it was only one fang that went into him. But either way, he's alive to tell the story, and he still plays around with venomous snakes. So, I mean, realistically, if it were me, I probably would, not milk snakes anymore. But Chris is a wild man, and he's the same guy in the video here that's handling big-eyed vipers, basically letting them crawl across his hands. So, I mean, bigger man than me, Chris. You're a tougher man than I. Now you'd think that, there's a story about Chris Sweet. There's not definitely another Chris Sweet story that happened 1 year to the day with a different snake envenomating him. But there is, because on April 4th, 2015, he get bit by a monocle cobra, which is significantly worse than a pit viper. Significantly. Because cobras are elapids, they have a neurotoxin. Bad news bears. So the story goes, he used to keep squirrels. Chris is an interesting guy, okay? He kept squirrels. They're super cute. Had a squirrel on his shoulder, didn't wipe his shoulder off, goes to service all of his cobras that he has in his personal collection, starts to open the drawers or bins or whatever they're in to fill the water, and then one of the snakes comes out, sniffs his shoulder. Chris thinks, I'll be fine. This is an aggressive thing, not a food thing. He's not going to bite me. Chris was wrong. It smelled the squirrel, bit him in the shoulder. The problem with getting bit in the shoulder, which is really rare, by the way, generally you get bit by hands, feet, ankles, arms with cobras because you're messing with them when you shouldn't, or you step in their area and you didn't see them, is you can't really wrap it off. Because if you got bit in the hand, you want to tie it off, basically, right? Of course, don't take my medical advice. If you get bit by a king cobra, if you're dealing with king cobras, talk to an expert on what to do. Don't, oh, well, Adam said, I've never been bit by one. Knock on wood. What do I do? Like, that would be an eye-opening reflect on my whole life experience. That's something that will kill you. I mean, monocle cobra venom can kill you. So he sat there for 10 minutes and then he started to feel an itch. He thought maybe I didn't get a full dump of venom because he didn't have crazy symptoms. He went to the hospital as quickly as he could. They had antivenin there. And of course, there were symptoms after that, but not as bad as I possibly could have been. And it's probably because that snake didn't put a whole load of venom into him. Because it's a neurotoxin, it can affect you long term. There's a guy who in Bali last year, we were talking about these white-lipped pit vipers, and we're kind of not messing with them, but we were showing them off for the camera and stuff. And then a goose says, oh, look at my finger, and it's all messed up. And he got bit by a white-lipped pit viper, but his finger works now. He's fine. That's generally what happens with pit vipers. With elapids, cobras, you can have long-term issues, especially with your organs. So Chris, as he tells in the story, by the way, these are all public stories. This isn't like secrets. There's a video you can watch of him telling the story if you'd rather. He's got long-term cardiotoxicity. So of course it was worse in the months right after. Basically it means that one of the chambers in his heart doesn't pump blood around his body as well as it used to. And this is a problem because, well, you want your heart to pump blood through your body. This is an issue he's gonna have to deal with forever, basically. It's one of those things, is it worth it? And I mean, only he can answer that question. To me, the reason I don't keep venomous snakes, and when I have the opportunity to work with them, I'm very careful, is because in my opinion, for me personally, it's not worth the risk. I love venomous snakes. I think they're amazing. Maybe one day I'd keep a squam or an eyelash viper or something that couldn't kill me in enclosures, in an outbuilding that's not in my house, with proper training, proper tools, never free handle. But in the meantime, I'm not really interested in keeping animals that could possibly kill me like that. Now, I want to talk about Chandler and Caveman Rob, and there's a bunch of other ones, but that'll be in part 2 if you want it. Let me know in the comment section below. If this video gets a whole bunch of likes and gets good views and people want to see the next one, I'll make part 2. Let me know in the comments, share with your friends. As always, a special thanks to the Patreon supporters. You guys are freaking amazing. Thank you for all that you do. If there wasn't a Patreon, it'd be much more difficult to go on trips and do all sorts of crazy stuff. And you guys get one-on-ones and everything else. So for as little as $1 a month, you get all that and more. That's it. Because I do videos twice a week, that means I'll see you on Monday or Thursday, whenever the next one is.